You guys want to get this started?
Yeah, let's do this fucking thing.
Let's be more official about this, guys. So we're going to call this podcast Blackpillup.
Yes, named after... or
Is it named after anyone?
Well, from Blackpillup show, the late, great Patrice O'Neill show.
Right, and then obviously mixing with Incel talk.
Yeah.
So we got me, Ericson, Jeremy
McKiernan,
and...
Oh, let's see.
Our Stacy guest for the day.
Who's our guest?
Christina Kuehl.
Christina Kuehl. And Christina, you don't know much about incels, right?
No, I didn't. And I wanted to do some research, and I forgot. So now I'm going to take you at face value.
Like a typical Freud, I would say. Like, just, typical, like, I don't need...
What is that? You need to be putting vocabs at the bottom of it.
That's a slur for females. Femoid, and then it's shortened to foid. So it's basically calling women not human.
Oh, okay.
It's a dirty slur.
Got it.
Yeah, because what I always understood is it's like basically like women are like mindless robots that are just wandering around looking for sex. Like basically, remember Austin Powers?
Oh yeah, fembots.
The fembots.
Yeah.
I always thought it came from that.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so
I'm a foid. And what about you boys who have sex?
What would
you be?
We're incel sympathizers.
Oh, okay.
We're starting a movement where we're
I don't know if you should call it a movement.
Yes.
We're simply trying to open up a discussion.
Spread awareness.
Yeah.
Right. And just more so like talk to people in a way that makes the conversation a little bit more conducive to like understanding people rather than just like, writing people off as terrorists.
Or putting them in a box.
Right. Because a lot of the conversation around incels is mostly involving like terrorism, specifically white terrorism, because that's one of the misconceptions that most incels are just straight white dudes who live in their mom's basement and want to play like EverQuest or whatever fucking MMO game.
And they want to kill women. They hate women. They're angry. I mean, they're very angry.
They are angry.
That might be true.
But the reality is that like there's a lot of misconceptions about them. And I think that what happens is that it hurts our ability to actually have a conversation about what the real issue is, which is not that like guys aren't getting laid, but there are people out there who I think live really loveless lives.
Yes.
And have and need an outlet for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this community was born online, right? Like Incel didn't exist before. Well, online.
Jeremy has more of a understanding about where it started. I came into it really late. I came into it right before it became like a more popular
known.
It's funny though, because not even people know about it. I literally ended up explaining it to 2 people yesterday. Like it always blows my mind, even in Los Angeles, how often you can bring up the word incel and someone goes like, "Wait, what?" Like it's not even like they heard about it. Like you had heard about them.
Yeah, but I'm also a comic. Like comics talk about incels.
We should ask Christina what she thinks of it.
Well, yeah, I wanted to get to that. So my first question was basically because that's what this is our first episode, it's a test episode. I think Christina's the best person for us to bring on because despite you being a lady, you have a lot of very masculine qualities about you. You're also very honest, despite you being a lady. Despite you being a woman, you're actually telling the truth. So I wanted you to let us know. I know you and I have had a conversation about incels before on a podcast, but what is your basic understanding of incels and what's your experience with them? Like even just like the knowledge of them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my idea of them they're like men living in their parents' basement, something like homebody people playing video games.
Homebody.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Real homebodies.
But when did you find out about them? How did you find out about them? What were you told about them?
I found out the first time I ever heard the term incel was like probably a year and a half ago at a mic, and a guy was explaining they're these guys that never have sex. They're undesirable people to the opposite sex, and that was pretty much all I do. At first, I thought it was a choice, like a.
They were voluntarily celibate.
Yeah, or then I kind of got them mixed up with asexuals, which it's not I mean, you just don't want to.
They don't want to fuck.
They don't want to fuck. They just,
Can we swear?
Yeah, we swear, of course. On an incel podcast?
I'm just
kidding. Asexuals jerk off to like a white wall.
Do they?
Do they even jerk off?
No, I don't think that they have any sexual
I feel like
impulses.
that's got to be so rare to be asexual.
To be truly asexual, I think it's very rare.
But yeah, I would say... Yeah, I think the incels want to have sex, and that's sort of what defines them is their inability.
And I guess my thing is, Ericson has said this before, where they're ugly, which is obviously a very subjective term.
I don't think so.
I don't don't know if it's exactly subjective. Like, I mean, like, it's subjective to a certain point. Yes, everyone can find beauty in everything, but there is kind of like, you know, there are standards of beauty, which I guess we as a culture right now are trying very hard to dismantle. But I think that's part of the problem is that, like, we're dismantling them in a sense that we're being like, we can't say an obese woman is ugly. It's like, okay, fine, that's fair. But what about a guy who's like got like, you know, one eyeball and another leg shorter than the other, and he only has like 3 fingers, and one of them's coming out of his belly button? Like, is that person beautiful? To someone, maybe, but would we consider that to be normal, or is that something like it's like that is not someone that the amount of people are going to find that guy attractive very slim,
and that's like
and
severe deformity. That's this gentleman that you just described.
That guy
did he see combat? Is that what?
No, he was born this way.
Okay.
My point is though, is like there's a lot of guys there. It's just like I think I totally understand as a kid when like we were trying our best to like make it be like, oh, everyone's beautiful and it's all a matter of looks and stuff like that. But one of the things that ignores is that there are standards of beauty that many people are driven towards, and ignores a reality that's like, you know, actually out there, which is that there's a reason why certain people are on the covers of magazines and are like movie stars, and we just kind of pretending like that doesn't exist, and it's just not true.
No,
it's
totally.
false.
But that's sort of one of the main, they would call it black pills of incel, is that looks matter.
They do. That's my point.
For men, like women are as shallow as men.
Got it.
And
yes.
there's a standard for the beauty. Mm-hmm. But you would say it's subjective. Like I would say it's not subjective.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And the term black pill, you've used that before. What does
this mean?
So
that just how do I even describe that? That's just
you and I describe that very differently. I feel like.
Oh yeah,
a little bit.
I mean, it's sort of the slang on the incel boards as it's like the harshest truth.
Okay.
So blue pill it comes from the Matrix.
Got
Let's
it.
do a quick rundown. Blue pill is like, you know, you're just kind of, you get a wife, you get kids, you get a job, blah blah. Let's not talk about politics at the Thanksgiving table. You're just very like conformative. And then red pill is kind of like, oh, you're kind of learning the truth a little more. Like, oh, you know, I think that started with pickup artists, right?
The red pill?
I think so,
I
right?
don't know for sure. Yes,
and people use
that
right,
show
right.
pickup artists.
People
not the
use
show,
it,
but a group of pickup artists.
People use red pill for slang about like the truth and things. Like red pill me on the stock market. It's like, all right, these stocks are scams. Don't do pennies. So it's kind of like it's kind of like It's kind of like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then black pill is used in the incel community, and that's sort of the harshest truth of like. They say like it's like this is the way, like it's for
basically
the incels.
Black pill is basically there's no hope for you.
Got it.
And it's for, that's what I mean by it's
you
for
have
the
two
incels.
choices with the black pill.
Yes,
you either can cope or you can rope.
Cope or rope.
Oh, cope or rope.
You either are figuring out a way just to cope with the fact that you're not Chad.
Yeah, no,
or you are going to kill yourself.
Got it.
And that's the most harsh way of looking at it, but it can lead to a lot of like humorous.
Yeah,
realities.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean,
really
and there's
is.
something to say about someone who was willing to listen to the black pill version of any. I mean, nobody's wanting to hear that.
Well, that's the kind of. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Is that a lot of, and that's kind of what also like exacerbates and gives it like I think power is the fact that like their attitude is like, no, this is the reality. Is that like we are men who will never have like the lifestyle that. At least a lot of people get to enjoy, and that's like perpetuated in media. But other people are like, no, that's not true. And it's like you're trying to like ignore the reality of it. Is that like? And we've had this conversation before. It's just like you say like beauty's subjective, but the reality is there's a lot of guys that I've shown you before that you're like, nah, I wouldn't go for him, but maybe someone else will. And you don't realize like that's the majority of narratives that like 99.99% of people are saying with that person's like, well, I'm not attracted to them, but who am I to say that they're unattractive? It's like, well, you are. You don't find them attractive, and a lot of people agree with you.
Yeah.
And those guys can't find that 0.9999%, that unicorn who would want to be with them. And even if they did, what are the odds we'll be attracted to them as well? Because that's the thing. We're also it's so rare that we're attracted to one another. Yeah. That the uglier you are, the harder it's going to be for you to find someone.
Unless you're super attractive.
In which case,
and then they're all attracted to each other, and that's why they always cheat on each other.
Yeah,
because they got all these options.
Because you got a lot of options. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. But here's my thing about it. Incels are they wouldn't exist if it weren't for our culture right now, because
that's not true.
200 years ago,
that's not true.
No, just hear me out. 200, 300 years ago, you're a disgusting, ugly human being. You're working and you're on the plains of Nebraska, and you'd be lucky to find a woman out there, and they didn't sit around and bitch about it. just worked. You know.
So you're saying that because they didn't have time to think,
yes,
and live as a human being, they were what they were supposed to be, which were grunts that worked for the pretty people.
I'm not saying
no. You're
dude.
saying like it's like back then, an ugly guy had no time to think about how lonely he was because he was busy working and harvesting food for the attractive people to feast and enjoy.
No, you're not attractive. I'm just saying that like people, but in general, ugly, attractive, in middle of the road people. You're working. You got shit to do. You got to put you're running out of food, or the weather just wiped out your car. You don't have time to just sit.
Wife
right, they had somebody. People were still getting fucked about 300 years ago.
So you don't think who went out to California and mined for gold? Really
old
attractive
prospectors.
The incels of the 1840s.
Right, they were trying to money max. They were trying to get money. They were trying to get money because they realized their looks weren't cutting it. So they found another way to get girls who want to have sex with them. And even they came back. And we're having to spend a lot of that gold just trying to impress women with fancy cars.
Yeah.
I guess
nice
what I'm getting
dinners.
at is this is an age-old problem that's now being looked at in a just a different level.
I think it's growing.
You think it's a grow? Okay,
and it is in Japan.
Okay.
There's a word for it, a German word for it. No, there is a Japanese word for incel. I think it's it's called like a shut-in. But anyways, I do think that it is growing, and we have all this. We have a research team, but we do have that Washington Post photo, but it is something that is growing, and I think you were saying our culture.
By growing, you're talking about like the.
I think it's becoming. There are more incels now. Like say back in whatever you're talking about, the planes
200 years ago.
Yeah, say maybe like
27 BC,
maybe like 5%. We'll just say that were incels or incapable of getting some haggle.
Yeah. Okay.
Disgusting wife. But now I think it is growing because I don't think people are getting married as much.
True.
People are staying single longer. And
also by the argument of incels, women are getting to ride the cock carousel a lot longer than they used to.
That's another term.
Oh, wait. Cock carousel. And wait, why are women able to do that?
Because now they have Tinder and Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And all these avenues where they can not only get contacted but also reach out to attractive men. They have much more opportunities because it used to be, like you said, we had the Nebraskan mongoloid man just harvesting crops all day, not being able to think about how lonely he was. But on the flip side, you had the attractive mongoloid woman, I guess, who was running around just visiting other dude, trying to see what kind of dick she likes, getting all those sexual experiences under her belt. And then maybe after a few years, she's like, you know what? I think I've seen almost all the men I can see around here. I think I want to settle down with.
How about this guy playing on the field?
Yeah, the guy who's actually making it happen.
Well, that's another thing that they talk about is how women have this lifestyle where they can just run around and enjoy themselves for about 10, 20 years. Then as their sexual market value goes down, they settle for one of the beta guys who are really nice and kind and emotionally stable, also financially stable, but not as attractive. But it doesn't matter because they've already had all their fun.
And I guess
cheat on them.
And then
they can also just cheat on them still too.
But this is so right now everything. Understand that the subcontext of a lot of what you're saying is there's already this negativity against women and what you guys, how are you guys are you talking about that and it's times 20 on these incels.
You could say it's negativity or it's just awareness.
Yeah, I mean I guess it is.
But it's
you can call it negativity or you can call it facts.
What we're talking about right now are market forces. It's women have a product that has in high demand.
Totally. And that's cool. And that's what I love about you is that you can start to admit that truth. A lot of women don't want to look at it that way as just this objective reality of no, you're right. I, as a 20-something young woman with decent looks or even above, have a very high sexual market value, and therefore I can do and as I please with men. But instead, that's not the story they tell. They always go, no, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You expect me to give you something that you think you deserve for being nice to me. You are just bitter because I want to have sex with you. It's well, yeah, of course I am, because I'm physically attracted to you, and I would like to have a close relationship with you. And every girl I meet, it never works out remotely like that.
Yeah.
And women just go, well, it's your fault. It's not mine. The guys I go after, they're good guys. They're just very funny. They all happen to be 6'2" and have giant, strong jaws.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point, is that I don't have my biggest issue is not the fact that this exists. I'm totally cool with it. What I wish we would do more as a culture is just be more. It used to seem like in the 90s we were going towards a more honesty about it. We're just like, yeah, like people are shallow, especially women, because they can be.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's this growing movement of like, if you're an angry dude who can't get laid, it's probably because you are a toxic person. And I just don't think
or as simple as if you cannot get laid or be in a relationship, it is your fault.
Yeah.
I don't think that is true.
Well, I will say that
you're born very ugly or like Aspergery.
Yeah, and
you're like, I know a lot of guys that are just like incels, not a lot, a few, but they're like, they will not be in a relationship ever, and people keep telling them, oh yeah, it's great, it's fine, just keep working on yourself. It's just nonsense.
Well, and I mean, and there's some kind of kooky folks in the comedy community, and I don't know about incels, but I've definitely talked to men.
Kooky was what I was sitting on. There's some kooky folks.
Is that some weird racial coding? I don't know about.
That's a great thing to call white dudes.
I wouldn't say they're like incels. They're just like guys that are, just kind of awkward and whatever.
Most comics, yeah.
No, and a lot of and like I just find it interesting that I'm a pretty social person. I like engaging with people, and I've had moments where I've like laughed at something, and I've like touched a guy's forearm, like just a nice like softly touched, and they've been like. They've jumped back, and like literally pulled their arm away, and what I'm getting at is these sort of behaviors I would think are also like an incel guy.
See, that's
might be like talking to someone and like can't make eye contact and then like pulling away, and that makes it really hard.
I would love to tell a girl I don't want to have sex and have her be like, "What are you, incel? You don't want to fuck me?"
That's not what I'm saying. Did I say that?
Well, you said he pulled away as if like maybe he's like afraid of the intimacy.
Yeah, he was. And like that's what I'm saying. Like it was like a fear of human contact. It wasn't sexual.
But they're not complaining about a fear of contact. They're complaining about a lack of human contact.
Or they're just surprised.
Yeah.
Like also,
like so many factors there. Like men are more skittish around women in general now, just in public, because they don't want to, all the.
Well, I also don't think that these guys pulling away from her, being like, "Oh my God, don't say I raped you." Like they're not.
I know, but it's just like it's just like a surprise. It's like, oh, what the hell. Well, yeah, okay, maybe. All right, I'll concede that.
I will agree with you that it's possibly partly their discomfort around women.
Yeah.
But my point is that you're conflating that with inceldom, which is what it's not. I mean, at the most, they're a mental cell. There's somebody who can't wrap their head, who just doesn't know how to socially integrate themselves in the world. They're not ugly. They're not so repulsive. Like they obviously have some possible opportunities, but because of their attitude and their mindset in the world, they're unable to connect with people. But an incel, that's the problem. Is that I think it's just you're taking it's kind of like this club that anyone can join, and there's some real founders who are genuinely distraught people. Mm-hmm. But now it's become so popular because it's a funny group of people, I guess, mm-hmm. or people that. But for me, it's funny people. But for a lot of guys, you're I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That they all want to join this group, and it leads to some radical people. Every group starts off very pure, and then it gets overly saturated, where the whole idea of it gets completely out of control and radicalized. And then other groups start to see them as that thing, kind of like with our politics and stuff like that.
Yeah. But the misconception is you can't join this club. It's like an affliction. You're just born.
Well, that's
involuntary. Everyone
we never talked about it. Yeah, and it means involuntarily celibate.
Yeah, I want to have sex and be in a relationship, but I am unable to. I have tried.
Uh-huh.
Didn't you say there's a record of a guy who approached people for 10 years, just constantly was going towards.
Oh, wasn't Well, this guy wasn't 10 years.
Or maybe it was 1,000 approaches.
He did 1,000 approaches. He called them is when he would go up to a woman on the street or at the bar at a coffee shop and say hello, blah blah blah, and he got and he got zero anything from it.
Zero, response.
I think he went on 2 dates,
That's
but
1,000,
then
right?
1,000, and then so he's doing this, and he's I'm an incel, which means basically I'm ugly, and I'm gonna do this, and everyone's telling him, no, don't do it, just waste of time, no, it's over, no, and then he did it, and it documented over 6 months,
Wow.
And it was exactly what they all thought.
So what do you take from that? Like, what do you like? Because that sounds like a guy who really gave it an honest effort to like.
That
really
sounds like to me. I'm just gonna say like, yes. Is it all one thing? It's not. He tried.
He really
but he
tried.
Spent,
he really tried.
But you like you're going at the outside world. That's your approach. Putting bait.
Your
out
approach
into the
was
outside
going
world.
out the outside. He should have stayed inside.
Maybe no.
He should have stayed inside and made sure.
But if
can I give you this before you say that?
Okay.
He also joined Tinder. 0 matches.
Okay.
Bumble, 0 matches. Okay, Cupid.
0 matches.
0 matches.
Oh yeah.
Some people are not going to find anyone.
What we're tapping into something like
People
this is
can't
an
admit
extreme
that some people are fucked.
This guy is fucked, and for one, we're really honing in on one aspect of the human experience, and that is sex.
Yes.
And it's a big one.
It's a big one. It
is a big one.
A lot of movies, CDs, or whatever the fuck we're using.
Sure, commercially.
The biggest aspect of our entire life.
You would say sex is the biggest aspect of a human's experience.
It's not just sex. If you can't have sex, you can't have a partner. You can't have a girlfriend or boyfriend, husband, wife.
It's also the most biological necessity that we have in life. Like it's why we technically exist as organisms on this planet. It's safe to say if you can never have sex in your life and you want to, you're going to be lonelier than someone who could easily have sex whenever they want.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some pretty lonely people who fuck a lot, and the sad thing is they don't know that they're lonely.
Right. That's all.
What I'm trying to say is
we're all
here. I think we need to remember
that's also an option.
We're all humans,
yes.
and we all and so I think shining a light on this, and let's talk about it. I'm happy that we're doing this, but I don't like conversations that say like someone like me is just so vastly different than like this guy. Like we're still like we have far more in common than we'd have not in common.
That doesn't change. We're just talking about the things
genetically, probably. DNA wise, yes, but when you're talking about the human experience, actually vastly different.
And the most interesting things are the things that we have that are different.
Yeah.
The commonalities aren't interesting. Oh, we both have brown hair.
Right. Constitutionally, you guys are exactly the same. You both are equal. You both have one vote. You both deserve the same equal wage and stuff like that. But when it comes to like the personal human experience, vastly different.
And the differences are the most important thing.
Totally.
Right.
But here's my question. You guys, what do you, I want to know what you want me to say.
Why does it always go that?
Because I feel like you're trying to get me to say some shit.
All right, let's go back to the 1,000-person thing.
Okay, yeah, that guy. Bless his heart. Feel bad for him.
So what do you think about that? Like, we're just asking you what you think.
Yeah, I think that would be really hard. I think that
what do you think about him? Like,
and him doing that and going out like that's it probably embarrassed. Like he was probably embarrassed several times. And you're
several. The guy went out on 1,000 approaches. Several.
Well, some of them
you
could
think
have
7
been
of those
cordial.
times was like this is
some
kind of really getting
cordial,
hard.
No.
Do you think that person is probably more lonely than
the guy having sex every fucking day
than an average woman or a super attractive guy that could get laid all the time?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what outlet does he have is my question. Like what does he get to what do you think he has in life that can possibly soften the edge of that?
Maybe these incels need to get together and have like a little
group
cuddle
session,
party.
Maybe talk.
It doesn't have to be sex.
Maybe they don't want to cuddle.
Maybe
they just want to talk. Maybe they just want to say things and express their aggravations to each other and make jokes and make each other laugh to feel like at least at the very least.
Here's a question for both of you. What would you tell a paraplegic who could never have sex and didn't voluntarily get in an accident and become a paraplegic? Like that's a harsh existence.
Does their dick
work?
Wait.
No, their dick does not work.
Well, I don't need to tell them anything because they know their dick doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, but is that it?
I'm not
would
their
you
doctor,
be like that
so
person is so lonely and like what a terrible?
Well, it's not
life.
my decision to decide whether or not they're lonely. But what I would say to them is like whatever you got to do to like ease the pain as long as you're not hurting anybody else. I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, you can still eat chicks out.
I guess
too.
that's
That's true.
Right?
True.
Right, yeah, dude. Work on that jaw strength, man. Let's get some plastic surgery. Let's get that jaw shaped up so it's nice and strong.
Yeah.
And that we're just gonna call you Jaws from now on.
Yes.
We're gonna call you Petey the paraplegic
so what
piranha.
do you want? What do I think about the guy? That's
Don't you feel bad? Here's what I feel. I'll tell you. I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's. I guess it's hard to feel bad for men now.
And I think that's what you guys are kind of you're getting at. Like this is a very extreme example of what I think is being ignored. That's a problem in a lot of men, which is this loneliness, this like I have things difficult for me too, and nobody's paying attention to a lot of straight
I
males
personally don't
feel.
give a shit about people paying attention to my problems. It's just the fact that it seems like if I find, and I'm not saying that I'm posting incel forums, but I do find them funny to read. Like for me, it's all the entertainment factor. I just don't want to take away one of my favorite TV channels. Basically, what it comes down to.
I
for
find
me.
it fascinating.
But I also have a philosophical problem with you shutting down an avenue for somebody to find support and catharsis in their aggravation.
Oh, because these discussions are being shut down.
Yeah, they are closing down forums constantly. Like, and they're and see that's the thing, you don't know much about incels because like I don't know how you guys go around not knowing about them, but like
I know I can't
really
believe
don't.
It.
But like
I do. It's just
but the media talks about them all the fucking time. Like it's just to me in my mind, like I always see them coming up in the news, and and especially I guess in comedy of being around women who are very obviously excited about feminism and like the feminist movement. They bring up incels. Like it seems like it's part of the culture enough that people always seem to have a general idea about the existence of angry men, at least, I guess. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously some terrible guys out there. I'm not talking about the guy who gets into a van, decides to run people over because he doesn't have what he wants in life. That guy is trash. He needs to be removed from society and punished. But there's a lot of guys out there that I just can feel for that are so either ugly or lost or hopeless and aggravated with the amount of rejection and obstacles they face, and just trying to find an idea that honestly might be flawed. Because that's the thing, I'm not even gonna deny it. A lot of guys probably want these relationships and don't realize how awful they are. I remember I used to die. I used to kill for the relationships I saw on television. Yeah. And then when I started dating some of the girls that I would see on, like, not literally, but like getting those kind of relationships, I was like, of that girl. The idea was great, but then when you're actually in the relationship, you're like, oh right, when you're actually dealing with another person and their ideas of what is a relationship, it actually can be exhausting, frustrating, and annoying. But
they're horrible.
Right. But
they need they can't if you don't have access to it, it's gonna drive you crazy.
Right.
If you can't
I definitely want to have that opportunity.
Yeah, you gotta have like the ability to be like, I don't want that on my because I chose that.
Like how do you feel for a guy who's like 40 years old and still has never had sex? Like how does you gotta that guy is clearly going through a lot of self-esteem issues, feeling very like rejected by society, feeling very lonely. And let's say he's one of the guys who worked 1,000 times to approach women, just was trying to be so optimistic, so understanding, so polite, stuck to his values too, was like always like, I'm not gonna like cheat on anybody and I'm not gonna lie to them, and like I'll always make sure like I take care of whoever I talk to, I'll pay for the dinner, like doing everything he can, and still ends up alone. Why can't he just have a site that he can go on to and share
I see nothing wrong with that. It's just that I see a lot of I just see discussions in general online, you tend to devolve into like a very like ugly kind of violent
that's what
thing.
The internet's for.
And I think that's what concerns people about incels is that the little I know about it, there is an aggression, like an underlying aggression towards women.
Yeah,
you're just getting that because people tell you that, right?
Yeah, I haven't.
That's the thing. People.
I'm not reading that shit.
But there's all sorts of different message boards. There's even one called like Incels Without Hate. So that one is that one's PG. So there's
fake cells.
What is it?
They're fake cells.
Fake cells. There's all sorts. Yeah. And there's people called love shot. There's so many different terms for it. It makes me believe that there's so many more people that are dealing with this than we even think of. It's not just the deformed. It's like
to your point, Jeremy, about this getting worse. Like I agree. I feel like there's no way this isn't going to keep growing because of like technology and your ability to isolate yourself. And it's just going to become a feedback loop. Like I'm unattractive, I have Asperger's, plus I'm not like ever interacting face to face with people because I don't have to, and I work from home and I play video games and whatever. And I just see that problem probably getting worse.
What problem exactly? Like the fact that incels exist and guys who can't get laid, or
like like I would say a growing amount of people who would identify themselves as incels.
Well, yeah, like the virginity rates growing and stuff like that. And that's the problem, is that like inceldom is becoming more Volseldom than anything, where it's like people are, because it's like
they're both going up.
Well, yeah, people are basically getting more and more shy about approaching sex, but especially with like, you know, growing, like, I mean, you can argue it, obviously it's a great thing for women, but the Me Too movement has created a lot more people who are afraid, who don't know, because if you've never had sex and you've never really had a relationship and you're always failing at it, now you're hearing like, well, there's also these guys who are having sex and they're all doing these like nefarious ways.
They're monsters.
Yeah, you're like okay, well now it's like
yeah.
now I'm trying even harder to make sure I don't make a mistake. But every time I go out, I see these women with these giant guys who seem like they're being douchebags to them and still getting somewhere with them. Yeah. There's just a lot of mixed messages that come out in the real world that we don't talk about.
Yes, that's
and
true.
We want to act like they don't exist. And I guess my biggest fascination with women is just that, like, what are you telling yourselves and each other to like rectify this shit, like, in your mind? Because like you can dismiss it off as like, you know, incels are just demon creatures that were born from like fucking like, you know, like fatherless mothers or whatever. Like you can come up with any lie you want to like explain yourself. Like these are others. These are guys I should not bother with. But at the end of the day, like you're still hooking up with other dudes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's because when women are getting together and talking, as you say, like, and we're all plotting, sex is not.
How often do you talk about penis size of other men?
To be honest,
that's where we're going with
in college. I used to do that, and then I stopped because I was like, I'm not going to objectify a man. It's
What's
just
so
a
bad
pot
about
calling the kind of
man, though?
Because I don't want to be objectified. I don't want some guy to be like, oh, she's got small tits, you know, but it's okay, and she's, you know, but her stomach's kind of flat. Like that's objectifying.
So you never look at a guy that you're with now and go like, oh, I really like his arms.
No, the difference is I don't go up to my friends and go, yeah, he's a nice guy, like I did in college, and I'm so guilty of that. Like he's a good guy. But he's like, his dick was kind of skinny, and then he had like weird hands, and I think it's different when you're like fucking, when you're talking to your girlfriends, and then you're kind of egging them on, and then the girls like, then the girls are trying to outdo each other. I hooked up with a guy with a gigantic dick; he couldn't even fit it in me, you know, and that it starts like to snowball.
But that's a real part of like the way you want to be part of that conversation.
I don't want to be. Yeah,
But do you want to stop other women from having that conversation?
I think women need to know that it's not part of feminism and empowerment to belittle men with small dicks.
Well, I don't think it should be part of the like credo. But it's totally in your right as a woman to value whatever you want in a sexual partner that you want to value. So that's
certainly, and I'm like,
it's
I'm going
okay
to like,
if women want to value guys who are only 6'4",
and
have massively thick dicks
and you're
with very strong hands
and normal hands.
Be
thick
honest.
Dick. Well,
It's the thick, not the length.
And
non-weird
hands.
Yeah, non-weird hands.
But skinny little.
But I think women, I just think they're just as shallow as men.
And your issue is that we're not being honest. Yeah, and we're like, no, it's his personality, and it's not.
Right, the amount of women who are always being like, no, but he's like really funny, and like he totally gets me. And then I watch you two interact, and it's like just the most banal like conversation. It's like it's not even conversation. It's just like two people just like making sure the other one's comfortable so they can bang later that night.
Like, you ever see the people walk on like probably this street, and they're like super, they're like the most like attractive, like, but like put together in like a weird way. Like you could tell they spend a lot of time on like their hair and their stupid outfits, and you just watching them, and you're like, you guys are the most boring fucking people I've ever seen. And you could tell everything. You could tell every conversation they've ever had. Should I get an iced coffee? It's just like you could just see that, and you're like, look at these two shallow motherfuckers. I love that.
Yeah,
well, and it's because it's totally
at least
fine.
they're fucking honest with themselves.
Exactly. Well, sometimes they aren't, because you start questioning them about it, they get like really self-defensive. Like, what are you trying to say? I don't love the person I'm with. It's like, possibly, yeah. It's not a big deal though if you don't. Like, that's what bothers me, is that people just can't be honest about what they're into.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right about women, especially recently. In the culture, like not being honest about how good they have it in certain ways.
Totally.
And it's a lot of victim. This is really hard for me being a woman, and it's like, come on, like it's what do I'll just say, I can only speak for myself. I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome that you can, and that makes
and
you
like
more attractive
I just
to
would
most
never
men.
complain about the way a man treats me because some men have said some shitty stuff, but like but they've done. Men are crazy because they're willing to bend over. The thing is, though, women aren't willing to bend over backwards in such a mass for men.
We only want you to bend over forward. So it's fine. We don't really need you to go backwards.
But
That's
what
more
men
convenient.
will do for women is it's out of control. Like the amount of free things and promotions.
Right,
and
you got
stuff.
a free
it's
Coke
wild.
today. You got a free Coke on your way over here.
Yeah.
Diet Coke.
Because he wants to make sure you stay thin and attractive.
Yeah.
Now, how'd that guy look?
He was like Hispanic.
Whoa, what's okay? That's
working the grill, like good guy, like just.
That's not what I asked.
40.
Yeah,
how do you know? Wait. You know how good of a guy is? You know that he's taking care of his family
so
and not cheating on
smiled
his
at
wife?
me, and don't shame me for saying Hispanic.
I'm not shaming you. I said, how did he look? And you said he was Hispanic and worked at a grill. I'm saying, was he handsome? Was he?
I would say he was probably like 5'7".
She goes, right.
Wow, goes right to
facial
height.
hair.
This is a girl who's told me numerous times it's not about height, and that's the first thing
I never
you
said
noticed.
that.
You did
I
say
said
it.
you asked me what kind of guys I date, and I was like, I said tall was in there.
I think I remember at
Was
one
he
point I
handsome?
mentioned
He
the
was
tallness.
5'7".
He was there. So no,
awesome.
no, he was not.
Okay. So
See,
if
that's
I
what-
ask
she
you
avoids
to
saying
describe
no,
a woman,
she avoids saying no. She just gives us all the other details.
okay,
that
was
basically
he
signal.
attractive? He was.
Not.
He had a symmetrical face. He had a
You are
symmetrical face.
reaching right now for compliments to give him because you did not find him attractive because he was not attractive.
I didn't find him sexually attractive, but he
Sexually attractive.
But was he
What
like
is that?
attractive man? Like, yeah, there's a difference. Sexually attractive is if you want to have sex with someone, like you're attracted to them and you'd like to have sex with them. Then there's people who are just
So you're
attractive.
saying so this guy was attractive in
No
the sense that there was a
difference.
possibility it could
No
have grown
difference
into. Wait.
between- that's a man's
Could
no difference.
Could it have grown into this? Could this have grown into like this guy and you chilling? He gives
No.
you free diet. No, so he's not attractive then.
Yes, they're sexually attractive. When I say attractive, we're talking about looks, which is the same as sexually attractive.
No, it's not.
Come on.
You're looking.
what do you mean
you're
by
looking at this
attractive?
universal label. You're trying to say is he attractive in the human species? Yeah, he's okay. I would cast him as a grill cook in a movie
Yeah.
about grill cooks.
Yeah. He's
sure.
like he had like
Right,
no
but he's not-
deformity.
That's not what attractive means.
But
You
we're
could say
talking
he's
about.
normal looking.
See, no guy would say that. No guy. If you ask a guy like, "How's a girl look?" It's like, well, I'd cast her as a male woman. Like, no guy would do that. Her face was symmetrical, so she's not ugly. It's like no. It's like she's either attractive or she's not. Because what you're trying to express is, would I fool around with this person?
Am
You
I
need to understand-
Am I attracted to them? It's two bodies.
Yeah. Okay. I
converging.
guess when I
Attraction.
no. But you guys,
No,
this is
what?
a very
No, you weren't
understand that
attracted?
this is a very male way to talk about things because you guys talk in absolutes. Men talk in absolutes. Things are black or white, and when
Black
you go
pill.
in a gray
Or
area,
Hispanic or yellow.
men, you don't want to hear it. You're like, no, I wouldn't fuck her. She's not attractive. It's like
But what's wrong with not finding this guy attractive?
there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying to put someone just to like flippantly say like he wasn't attracted to.
That's our whole point. Is women aren't as honest about if they're attracted or not,
To
or
a
if
guy.
they like tall guys or not. Just say you like fucking tall guys. That's cool.
I've said
You won't
this
even say
before.
it. Do you see that you like tall guys?
Yes.
Yeah,
Taller than me.
Yeah. Okay.
Taller than me, please.
And I'll tell you something. That's 99% of women.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, but they act like it
they
doesn't
act like-
matter, and they also act like it's totally cool if you make fun of a short guy, but if you make fun of a girl who's overweight, it's totally not cool. Do you agree with that one?
That if
Do you agree that it's okay to make fun of guys who are like 5'3" because they're short, but you can't make fun of a woman who's 5'7" and 320 pounds?
you can make fun of anybody you want.
Okay.
But
Our
would
society,
get mad at you for making fun of a fat woman? Yeah.
Yeah.
And not as mad making fun of a 5'3". Totally.
And-
yes.
and
absolutely.
and do you agree with it?
But please don't put me in the category of speaking
Of
for
society?
our society or women.
Well, you don't know. We're asking your opinion on.
Yeah. Okay.
society.
Okay. So definitely. I mean, what I want a man who's. I'm not going to be attracted to a man unless he's taller than me.
Nice. I like this. Okay, let me write
He's
this stuff
got to
down.
he's got to feel to me physically stronger than me.
Okay. And you seem like a strong woman.
And I'm pretty strong. And I do.
what
I
can you
want
bench?
that. I can't bench shit.
You really? Okay. Well, but like, you can deadlift, right?
I mean,
you look like you've been to a gym like a few times, and you have lifted like barbells and shit.
I'm strong, and I can easily carry my own, lift my own weight. What I don't know. I don't go like 130.
You're strong for a woman, but 99% of men are stronger than you.
Certainly, yeah. So right there, like that's automatically.
You're just getting her point that she's attracted to most men now.
Yeah.
No. I'm just saying the stronger thing
doesn't matter.
No, it's not.
It kind of does.
But there are biological things.
We want really strong guys, but most men are stronger than you.
Most men are stronger than me, and I don't.
Not even most. 99%.
I don't like
0.9%.
Guy like gold gym like ripped out of their shirt. I don't like that look personally, but I do. I like a guy who looks like he cares about himself. He doesn't have to be in the best shape, but like if you look like you don't care about
hold on, what does that mean? Looks
like treat yourself like you're not sleeping, you don't eat well. You can see those things on a person. That's a turnoff to me.
What's eating well?
Not eating garbage. I mean, like
McDonald's and shit. Like you can't ever have some fast food.
No, yeah, Ericson. He could never fucking even step foot into a McDonald's.
I don't know.
No,
so not fat. She's saying
not fat. For
sure.
So
we weren't even talking about what he eats. We're not talking about diet. We're talking about what he looks like.
There's like skinny fat that's not taken.
Fat.
Yeah.
What?
There's also skinny fat, which is not attractive because you can tell when someone's not taking care of themselves, but they're not fat.
No, yeah, I was that about a few months ago.
Are you familiar with the halo effect?
No, what is the halo effect?
It's an interesting theory. It's about that, like, a good-looking person, male or female, you ascribe good qualities to them just based on their attractiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Their beauty.
Uh-huh.
And there's also the faleo, which is the opposite, which would be like a very ugly person, so you assume the worst. You'd say, like, they're angry, they seem violent, they seem like they don't eat well, they seem like...
Totally.
So I think that's another big part with the incels beyond just having sex and relationships is they're like, our whole life is fucked because we go to a job interview. And I think there's tons of, there's been tons of like experiments about like the more attractive candidate getting hired.
Oh no, totally.
Yeah.
And that's like been proven. Babies look at attractive faces for longer. Like this is not
babies like attractive
it's not even
better?
Learned. It's
Who
not.
Came
it's
up
you're
with
born
that
with
scientific
because they were
experiment.
showing they would put people in front of babies, like line them up, and then
I get how the experiment worked. My question is, what fucking like John Hopkins student was like, you know what I think I want to do my thesis on?
Because what
do
we're
babies recognize attractiveness too? Or babies also Stacey's?
Sounds like a baby fucker.
Yeah. Why aren't these babies trying to fuck me?
He's like,
is it because I'm ugly? Is it because I'm not attractive enough?
No, but he's like, here's proof. Babies find me attractive.
So it's consensual.
Your Honor.
Those 5 children were consensual. Okay, I have documented proof. I paid for the research. Kids find attractive people sexy.
Babies.
Oh my god.
Babies like me. Babies love me because of my symmetrical face.
We're gonna bring in a few babies here. Watch how their eyes are drawn right to me.
They love it.
I'm not gonna do it again. That's just to prove a point. Bring in the babies.
Roll them on in here. That's amazing. But what we're talking about is the science of attraction that isn't necessarily talked about that much. And there's things with men with lower voices, women rate them as more attractive because subconsciously we hear the levels of testosterone are higher in a man with lower voice.
Love what you're saying, because what you're saying is black pill true based shit.
Yeah.
But the problem is that like we live right now in a current environment where like there's a movement against all that shit, because every time you bring up facts like that, there's a girl who's like, well, that's not how it is with me. Or like my friend doesn't do that. And it's like, well, great, sure. Like
there's someone for everyone.
Right. There's someone for everyone. It's like, yeah, but like you're over. It's like, here's the reality. It's just like there might be someone for everyone, but there's fewer people for certain people that it's almost impossible. Because if the one person who's for you lives all the way in like Africa and has no chance of ever flying to this country, and you have no chance of flying over there, then you're hopeless.
So you said Ericson, in this time, like right now, this is a problem. How was that not a problem 500 years ago?
No, it's always been a problem.
Okay, so it seems
like the solution we're moving towards now is silencing those ugly people. In a way that makes it sound like if you basically we're breeding people now to think like if you even relate to anyone like this, it's your own fault, and you're a toxic human being who's looking at the world wrong. Like, it's all on you. It's not.
Got it.
Like, granted, things are not in your control, but what is in your control is your ability to get laid. And if you're not getting laid, it's all your fault. Like, it is a choice. It's always a choice.
Yeah.
You're a virgin and you're 53. It's because you've chosen to be that. Which, I mean,
the other insane thing is it gets harder. Say you're 16 and never kissed a girl, it's going to be harder to be 18 and kiss a girl. So then say you're like 25 and you're a virgin, like it gets to a point where it's like it's hopeless. Like then you're like then if you're 30, if you meet another woman that's
you
30,
get to 55 and you hadn't sex. Even if it was easy at 55.
I'm saying it's harder. The harder it gets, the harder it gets. What I'm saying,
right.
Like
the longer
you're
you
really
wait.
gonna find someone if you're 50, you're a virgin, you're with a woman who's been in like 6 relationships. Like you don't even know what a relationship is. How are you supposed to compete? It's over for you once you get to a certain age.
And the worst part about it is that like the true cells, like the ones who are really who feel very genuinely incel are completely ignored, because like I said, it's all about how like incels are just like straight white dudes living in mom's basement, when a huge portion of them are just Asian guys with like really small penises. Indian guys who just feel like being Indian is like one of the most unattractive types out there towards women.
Curry cells, they're called.
Curry cells and rice cells are what we're talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've got a name for everything.
Got it.
And it's hilarious. It's the most hilarious. It's the most hilarious verbiage I've ever seen in my entire life, and I love using it.
I mean, you've brought that up, or you guys have talked about how it's. I think of them as awkward white dudes.
Right.
And it's certainly how I
not
think
true.
about it.
It's not.
It's
yeah.
interesting. I get why they portray that, because it's cool to
Are most of them
hate
it's
white
just
guys
America
now.
whitewashing
Totally, it's
everything
very cool.
again.
Exactly.
It's the coolest.
Are these guys? Are a lot of
It's the
these
new
incels in these
skateboarding.
forums in America, or are these like curry cells in like Mumbai?
I think it's pretty like nothing's just in like any message board now. It's like so
you could be
commodified.
anywhere, huh?
There's a lot of
Yeah,
Europeans
that's
on it.
another.
Everyone speaks
That's
English.
another that's overlooked
you know?
is that.
But everyone's speaking English on it, huh? On these
Yeah, but I mean,
forums.
everyone
Sometimes
in
broken
Europe
English.
speaks
No, some of it's broken English. Like some of it's translated. Like some of it is
Oh, yeah,
legit.
that's
Because I was
true.
reading one recently where a guy was trying to explain his whole story, and I just couldn't follow it because I'm like, your English is so broken, I can't tell what really happened.
Yeah, and also are all these websites being able to be just translated into whatever language you speak, whatever country you're in?
But there are
Yeah.
there are plenty of curry and rice cells that are living inside of America. But also
A lot of Europeans.
Also, to Jeremy's point is that people overlook is that this is like a global thing. Like especially when I got off of Reddit and I started looking at other forums, like you see like their people's location, and it's just all around the world. Like it's just because it's
There's polls too. They've done polls with like 1,000 members on their site, and it divvies up where they're from. And maybe it was like half America. It wasn't
like okay.
It wasn't like 90% or anything like that.
Well,
And America's also huge. Like we have almost 400 million people.
Yeah. Okay, that's
China
pretty
is
interesting.
not allowed to use the internet, so they're.
Oh yeah,
the
think of how many
there,
incels there are just dormant.
But they're
dormant. I don't know. They're dormant. Dormant. You make them sound like they're like they're sleeper cells. They're just walking around, not realizing.
Think of that one child policy. You know how many villages in China have way more men than women? It's crazy,
right?
Dude.
No, that
but they're
definitely
separated from the internet. So
you don't even get to talk to them.
They don't even know there's a whole group of people out there that could just make them feel so much better with all their Pepe memes.
I'm sure there's some. You could get on.
I'm sure that there's people that know.
There's an underground incel railroad.
We should go there.
Yeah,
to China? No fucking way.
Let's do a podcast.
Let's do a live show. Let's do a live
Yeah.
incel podcast in China.
That's like the truly. I feel like that would be like the
Mecca,
epicenter.
the Mecca of
incels is probably like rural China.
So you admit that the Chinese people aren't attractive to you?
Holy shit!
Well, you just said you think it'd be the Mecca. I don't know where you got that.
I'm saying that. What you don't know where I got that from the one child policy?
Because
Get
there's
the
more
frick
men.
outta here.
And they're short.
Yes, they are very short, tiny penises. We all agree that. But here's my question, okay? Because we got to get to a point with this, and this is what really fascinates me about having this conversation with women is that because and you're one of the more honest girls I know. I'll say that. So my question for you, Christina, is what is the solution for this problem in your mind? Like if you had to help, if we let's say you become the first female president of America.
And on the top of the list.
Which honestly, I think you're a way better candidate than what we have right now.
Yeah.
I would, and I would never want to be a politician.
That's why it'd be so great.
Exactly. No,
but okay, well,
so what do we do about?
Here's the first grassroots. I brought up this idea to Ericson. I'm doing a mixer. We're doing a female mixer.
Okay, are you
just to get the comfort?
Where are the women coming from?
I'll get them. No, I'll get them. They'll be volunteer women.
Who? What world?
Right. What the hell are you talking about?
Because I'm saying that if you're a woman who's like talking about being a feminist and being enlightened, then why don't we reach out? This would be like a volunteer opportunity. To talk
volunteering.
I already have. I got it. Girls at work.
You got an email
I know
list?
women at work who would be down to do not sex. We're not going to go have sex with incels. But if you had like a nice party and a mixer where they can at least get comfortable talking to women, and a woman who's not going to reject a guy.
We're going to have to pay these women. Let's just be honest. What's wrong with that?
That's fine.
Paying them or not. The fact that the whole solution is they just have to learn how to talk to women.
Yeah, that's the first step. The first step isn't go have sex with a woman.
Some of them actually do know how to talk to women.
Okay.
Some of them are very.
It's not based on
some
they
of them
can't talk.
Oh,
yeah. In fact, we never even touched about this, but you don't even know about Chad fishing, do you?
No.
Okay. We don't have so much time, but let's just see if we can get through the bullet points, because this is what takes down your argument.
Because clearly I don't understand.
Guys were going on Tinder, right? They were taking photos of basically 10 plus dudes, just mega chads, guys who were supermodel hot, but they would find various pictures of them in certain situations to make it look real. They'd make a profile with these guys' pictures.
Yeah.
And the matches were already insane, but the things they could say that would get these girls down to fuck. I mean, they didn't even have to say anything sometimes. The girls would message them yo, couldn't help but notice you, cutie. When are we getting together? It was so much easier. It's not like these guys don't know how to talk to women.
Okay.
Granted, I'm sure it's very different when it's face to face and they can see you, but at the same time, it's not like they don't know how to talk to women. It's that they do not look like guys that women want to talk to. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that going to a mixer where it's I get to talk to a pretty lady, that's the most blue ball shit I can imagine. You're going to go home being okay, well, I talked to her, but now I know she was just talking to me out of a volunteer work. I'm the kind of guy that women won't fuck, but they'll definitely, they'll treat me as a charity case.
It might make them commit suicide in droves. Because they'll be exposed to something they could never have.
That's
your solution.
Is that the end?
Get them to rope.
Yeah,
by forcing them
Clear them
to
out.
Realize how much they're a charity. I really do believe
that's a I'm not even joking. That is a consideration. Killing them at birth.
Well, that's what the Spartans did.
The Spartans killed their incels.
But if we could do it in utero. I mean,
so this is all become a pro-abortion podcast, a pro-choice podcast.
It's pro. They did it to Down syndrome. Maybe we do it.
They do that to Down syndrome people?
Of course. You could tell when you're pregnant. That's why we see less.
They thought I was going to be down. They did. My mom's
doctor did.
The doctor told my mother I'm very likely to come out retarded, and that he should probably abort me. And my dad was like, "That guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about."
Oh my god! Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doctor had it out for you.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, though, knowing me now, I feel like they might have been onto something.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh my god.
Okay. If not killing them. Well, that's one option.
But
another option.
What's funny is that I really do believe that deep down, that's what most people feel, and they have a hard time admitting that if most people had their druthers, if most people had it the way they wanted to be, ugly people just wouldn't exist.
Yes.
Like they would never, or at the very least, you would never have to see them or deal with them or ever have to acknowledge them. I think most people would prefer these people just went out and killed themselves.
Yeah, they're annoying.
Because it's an inconvenient reality to acknowledge to yourself that it's not all about personality. Right. And that even more of it might be about physical, biological attractiveness than you even realize.
It's the disgust factor.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
ugly people make us have to face our own ugliness on the inside.
Ooh.
That's true. I think that.
What about prostitutes?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is
sex bots.
With sex bots, you got virtual reality fucking. I mean, there's some options for
virtual
them.
Doesn't work for me. But what about sex bots? Are you down with sex bots? Can we get them some sex bots?
I think that if the goal is to get someone laid and you're not worried about whether or not they're satisfied or happy, then let's get them in a hole, just coming as soon as we could possibly.
That's what they're doing in Japan. These guys, I saw this guy. He's jerking off 14 times a day. He's got a doll. He's the Japanese incel.
The Japanese incel. That's his handle on Reddit. The Japanese incel.
But he's local celebrity. He's living your future. He's doing it.
Yeah, he's
so
just.
That's. I think that's going to happen, but you don't need a policy for that. You just need
you just
need
an
Amazon fucking package to come.
Yeah, or maybe we could maybe we could convince somebody to send out the first 10,000 units are free to incels.
That'd be nice. That's kind of nice. I
for the
like
first
that.
10,000 that can prove they're sub 2, we will give a free sex unit.
Send in your picture. If we vomit on it, we'll send you.
I just think that
I like that. That's nice.
What I really like about incels is they seem to be this like distilled down, hyper like radical. Like
why
problem of what like I'm talking about people. I'm saying it's radical when you're using things like never had sex, never touched a woman, like
some
really
of them
like
haven't.
I'm stating it as a
Right,
fact.
go ahead.
Okay. It's a radical way of living.
It's a radical way of living, and I'm thinking they're almost symbolizing a lot of problems that are permeating in our culture. I think this is why you two grasp onto them, because I
think it's a symptom.
There's something going on. A symptom
of
our culture.
It's not symbolic. It's real. They are a symptom of our culture.
But again, we established the fact that 300 years ago these people existed, and they. And
I'm saying it's growing.
Yeah. And it's because of the way that our culture is.
Yeah, exactly. It's a symptom of our culture.
Yeah, we're more looks based than ever before. I feel like, because
you're
right.
Than ever.
That guy, that Mongoloid you were talking about back in the day, who was just like working on the farm in Nebraska, like he had
options.
He had options, yeah, because he was a hardworking dude who could provide for people and his village only had so many people in it, and most people didn't ever leave. So like,
they don't have access to other people. They're just a few villagers.
Yeah.
You know? There's no Tinder.
Now it's so much options. So
there's only like 3 chads to go around, so those chads are already taken. And he's got the opportunity to take on maybe some Becky that's running around being like, I can't really find anybody who is my looks match, but I can find a guy who can provide for me.
Then I want to know, like, Jeremy, what do you think could be done for these people? Like, if there is something to be done?
The best idea I think I've had is just to kill them when they're in the womb. I don't know.
You really want to take them out?
Well, we would have to change. It would have to. Let me. I put them on an island somewhere. Maybe. I haven't really thought about it because it's so bleak and it's so dire. Like there is nothing to do if you look at the way we're going. Like it'd have to be like abolishing Tinder, which is like impossible. So all the solutions just seem impossible.
I just honestly want to let them have their forums. I just want them to be able to have.
Yeah, I think that's really shitty that it's obviously media or certain people have latched on to this as like some way to stop like the alt-right or terrorism or whatever. It's misdirected, right?
Yeah, I would like people more to sympathize with them. And I think they will. I think in 6 years, once it becomes, once it's like, oh, my cousin is an incel, my brother is.
Yeah.
Then we will be more.
You're right. Like it's almost like it hasn't hit the mainstream.
We have got people who literally will not talk to family members because they voted for Trump. You think that eventually someone's gonna be like, oh, my brother's an incel?
Yeah.
I'm suddenly starting to see things his way.
No, but when it's personal, look at the gay rights movement. That changed so much when people were like, oh, I have a friend. I have a friend who's gay.
To their uncles because their uncle is homophobic.
I realize this, Ericson, but when people know someone who's gay, it drastically, yes, there's still an conservative uncle, but for the most part, people changed their opinions because they were like, oh, I can't hate gay people, and now my cousin is gay. Or like I've learned that my cousin's gay. It's much harder to do that. So if you want to, what I'm saying is if people have a misconception about incels and it's going to grow, the number of them, then inevitably you're going to start sympathizing because you'll be like, oh, maybe my son, like when this term gets permeated more, people would be like, oh, I look at my son, oh, maybe he's an incel. Maybe we'll pay more attention to this part of him.
his inability to get laid and his belief that he deserves to fuck women whenever he feels like, no matter what they want out of him. Like that's, I mean,
that's what you're now talking to.
Well, that's how people are going to perceive him. Because if we're talking about somebody who doesn't or who already hates incels, their idea is like, oh, my son, I thought he was just a nice little Indian boy, but apparently he's a straight white cis male who thinks he should be able to rape women whenever he feels like. I had no idea. Like they're not gonna.
Here's what it'll take.
You are correct.
You're a naysayer. You're a pessimist. You want the incels to be. You want them to stay in their lane. Because otherwise you can't read their forums if they if they get help.
I do kind of enjoy. No, I've said it before. I'm mostly here for the entertainment factor. I really just love. I love their memes and their activations.
I like the truth more. I like.
I know you're.
I'm more of my biggest flaws. I like the truth.
And that's nice.
Flaw I like the truth.
I'm not even being telling it like it gets you in trouble. The truth isn't always the best.
No, I agree.
I mean,
that's what I find entertaining about them is they touch upon a truth about sexual relationships that we try to ensure.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say about you is if you're right, if we're going to use inceldom as almost like an allegory for homosexuality, which I'm sure would piss off so many people if you ever said it out loud, then we have you said it in conversations like I think incels are a lot like the homosexuals. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But if that's true, then we've got like another 20, 30 years before incels end up like becoming people because that means we still have to go through the whole process of us basically like demonizing them and having caricatures of them,
but things happen faster,
and sending them to anti-incel camp to help have them like clean.
But I think
we're on a much faster trajectory.
I think once people start making money off it,
dude, I want to open up an anti-incel camp.
You want to open up one?
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
That's pickup artists, man.
Wait. Okay, but what you were saying though just now about what if you can start making money?
Yeah, like the Joker movie, like what? Like they're gonna start doing, and then politicians, if they start catering to incels,
oh my God, that would be mental.
Yeah.
Then, it'll
raise an awareness.
I think you're right about If my brother's an incel, they'll be like a Trump supporter, but at least they'll be more, and they'll be more of a force.
Yeah. And if they're if they can vote,
and
there's a voting block there, then there's. I mean, it sounds like to me after all of this conversation, it does sound this is clearly a legitimate group of people who have some problems and are going.
They can't be fixed.
No,
you guys are both so like ready to have them.
I'm not denying that. Some of them can get plastic surgery and do things to fix their situation. It's just
plastic surgery.
Plastic surgery is never the answer for anything.
I don't think it could fix
even that guy I showed you before who had like a face that was insanely disfigured and had it basically like reconstructed into like a semi-normal face. That's not the answer.
Yeah.
He should have just stayed with the
That's
deformity.
Cosmetic surgery. That's not plastic.
That's
I have to pee so bad. Can I pee real quick?
Yeah, go.
Sorry.
I
should have peed.
Oh my God.
No, we're almost wrapping up.
You should
here.
have a catheter for him.
Dude, I often think that we should get to a point in life where catheters are just totally okay.
Yeah,
because the amount of times I'm in traffic, especially, where I'm just like, why don't we have a system where I can just pee myself?
Yeah, no problem.
We're just expected to be in like bumper to bumper traffic for 2 hours in Los Angeles and not just like pull over the corner at least and pee.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Okay, but you, I do get the feeling though that you don't want an answer for these people. Like I feel like you're kind of like I just want it to be what it is and get even more extreme if possible.
Well, no, don't put those words in my mouth. I do not want incels in the streets rioting with clown masks and like killing people and like like spray painting. Well, if they graffiti the word "void" on people's billboards, that'd be hilarious. But no, I just. All I care about is, I guess, accepting them in the culture. Making sure that we're just like stop villainizing dudes who are angry that they can't get laid.
Yeah.
It's especially when you're a woman, it's just so fucking unfair to be like, oh, you're just pissed off because I don't want to have sex with you. It's like, well, that's a legit reason to be. I'm not saying they deserve to have sex with you, but any woman, I would imagine, over the age, let's say 25, knows what it's like to be really turned on, really into a guy, really think that's going somewhere even, and then have themselves shut down and feel that kind of like, what the fuck is wrong with me? What the fuck is wrong with him? That rage and anger and frustration that you could almost label as entitlement. And I just feel like, and so it's unfair that women now get to have that, but men don't.
Yes.
But it's also detrimental to our relationships. The solution to these guys, these few radicals that go nuts and decide to like hurt people or do something insane in the name of either inceldom or Elliot Rodgers or just plain like I'm angry, I think it's exacerbated by silencing them.
Yeah.
And making it so they have nowhere to go and no one to talk to about how they feel.
I think you just verbalized and explained to me very well. What Ericson just said was that it's the fact that women especially think these men are shitty, angry, entitled people.
Right. Entitlement's the biggest part.
And for wanting to have sex and not getting laid and being angry about it. And that is a very understandable emotional place to be.
Right.
And I yes, thank you. Like I'm not going to act like I didn't think about it in that way and understand it in that way.
Right.
Until us, you got to get the word out. That's what we're doing. Hey, you converted me. I mean, yes! I'm like, I will say I have I'm an incel now.
You're an incel sympathizer.
Yeah, I'm an incel sympathizer. I understand this.
Would you feel comfortable in a conversation with people to say you're an incel sympathizer?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We've
oh
done.
Oh my God, 1 for 1.
This is the best. This is a great first episode.
100%.
Awesome.
Like but it's
like, I know two of them. I know two of them. They started a podcast. It's really good. You should check it out.
First initiation, incel sympathizer. Go to that fat burger and give that guy a little handy.
But see, and this is where it gets weird because I feel like a little bit like you guys think that
there are no free Diet
Cokes. Our duty as females then to like put out for these.
No, we don't.
Not for incels, but if you want to acknowledge I'm getting sick and tired of women not acknowledging that they have the sexual power. That it's like
she said
either
she did.
Yeah, she does. No, I know. I'm just talking about what you said. Just counterpointing what you just said is that like women want to act. It seems like either you want to act like you don't have the power and you want to get it, or you've never had the power and never will. And it's like no, you've always like in a perfect society, really, just the way we're building it. Like women basically have the yay or nay as to whether or not sex is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just a way it has to be. So for the act that you haven't had it and that you still don't have it and are just kind of coming up with new rules, to me is just disingenuous.
And we're looking at like, especially this third wave feminism has gotten like, it's ridiculous. Like
it's
the
terrible.
Me Too and the victim.
It's brainwashing.
Women,
it really is genuinely brainwashing
women
for women. And some men.
Women are victimizing themselves and villainizing men. And that narrative is just tired, and it's not true.
It's not helpful.
And it's not helpful.
It's not helpful for us becoming more equal and more happy in our relationships and the way that we interact with people. Because that's the thing, too. Is like women are acting like if you get rid of incels, you get rid of like toxic men who are going to manipulate them and say what they need to say and do what they need to do to get sex. That's not. There's always going to be guys who are going to try to find a way to get what they want the way they want to get it. And you just and villainizing dudes who can't get anything because they just basically are as like ugly as fuck isn't the answer to doing that.
And I think there's just not honest conversations about, like you said, the power that women have sexually, and then you're going. My problem with women is when they're wearing like a tight dress and red lips, and they're walking around and being like, "Don't look at me because I'm, I should be able to dress however I want and look hypersexual, like sexualized."
Totally.
And then you're yelling at a guy for ogling you. It's like, yeah, there's a hypocrisy there.
Yeah, they're silly.
Yeah,
she's silly behavior.
I think women
she's
are
on the right
silly.
page.
Huh?
She's on the right page.
Yeah.
We got one.
I made it to the right.
This is
1 for 1.
This is the perfect first episode. We converted
one.
someone to be an incel sympathizer. I think we're on the right path.
They're also called love shy.
Okay, we got to wrap this up.
Wait, who's
guys.
love shy?
We got to wrap this up.
You're also a love shy
I'm
sympathizer.
A love shy. But let the record say, I do not want them to commit suicide. That was not the option.
Unless they really
so wait. So you're saying to incels, if you're ever considering roping, just rape a girl.
Oh my God.
Because I don't want you to kill yourself. I'd much rather you just go the other extreme.
Or just get a sex bot. Or whatever, or a fleshlight.
But what if they don't have the money for a sex? Those fleshlight. That's going to solve the. That's going to solve the issue.
I don't know.
I used to be lonely. Now I got this flashlight. Fuck. I'm fine. Who cares? Who cares? Women are spitting in my face on the street when I get to fuck a fucking cylinder.
See, I don't post, but if I did post, I would post very unhelpful shit like that. Like, guys, have you seen this thing?
We should make a fleshlight commercial.
Oh, dude, if we ever get promotions, which we never will, that's gonna be
sponsored by
Fleshlight
and the News Factory.
Okay, that's gonna be the show, everybody. I'm Ericson Just.
Jeremy Kiernan.
Christina Kuehl.
Thanks for listening. Whoever listened to this far into the episode. That's this episode.